Welcome to the Plan B CRNA podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Jones, and I'm so excited that you're here. The Plan B CRNA podcast is the only show made specifically for nurse anesthetists who are exploring options outside of their traditional career paths. This is the place to expand your mind and your goals as we uncover new ways to produce side income together. The mindset that we bring to any situation plays a key part in overcoming challenges and really enjoying our unique paths in life. On Thoughtful Thursdays, I like to explore emotional topics that are relevant to CRNAs and other providers. I think of this as my therapy, and I hope you learn some tips and tricks that you can use along your own journey. This episode is brought to you by On-Call Capital. On-Call Capital is dedicated to educating CRNAs and other healthcare providers about investing outside of the traditional stock market. On-Call Capital also provides opportunities for you, yes, you, to create passive income and generational wealth while also lowering your taxable income through investments in the apartment and alternative investment spaces. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, make sure you do that right now so that you don't miss an episode. Thanks so much for joining me today, and now on with the show. Welcome to Thoughtful Thursdays on the Plan B CRNA podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Jones. And before we get started, I wanted to let you guys know that in my efforts to bring you the most attractive real estate offerings, I've recently partnered with a group to provide you with access to be able to invest in RV parks and resorts. Now, we have a deal that we're actively working to fund that's available to both accredited and non-accredited investors, but you can't get started until we establish a relationship with you. If you're interested in these types of offerings, please reach out to me at bobby@oncallinvestments.com or find me on Facebook so that we can set up that introductory call. Now, on with the show. And as always, I like to start these shows off with a quote that gets me thinking. Jim Rohn, a motivational speaker, once said that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I'm sure most of you listening have actually heard this quote before. It's not exactly new, but it really does stick in the old subconscious, doesn't it? It's one of those sayings that makes you pause and really take stock of your surroundings. And that can be awfully compelling. But what if I told you that it's not exactly true, at least not in the way that you may think? In fact, the influences in your life don't stop anywhere near the 5 people you spend the most time with. It's actually a much wider net of folks, and it also may include people that you haven't even met yet. The first major study on the breadth of social influence was conducted by Nicholas Christakis and James Fowler, who took it upon themselves to study the data from the Framingham Heart Study, one of the largest health studies that lasted over 3 decades. They specifically looked at obesity, which is pretty easy to measure. According to their findings, if a friend of yours becomes obese, you yourself are 45% more likely to gain weight over the next 2 to 4 years. But it doesn't stop there. If a friend of a friend becomes obese, your chance of gaining weight increases by about 20%, even if you don't know them personally. But it doesn't stop there. If a friend of a friend of a friend develops obesity, you are still 10% more likely to gain weight as well. Pretty wild, right? Similar studies of smoking yielded similar results. If a friend smokes, your likelihood of smoking goes up by 61%. If a friend of a friend smokes, you're 29% more likely to smoke. And a friend of a friend of a friend, that increases your smoking chances by around 11%. But you don't just run the risk of picking up unhealthy habits. One of the more interesting results centered on happiness. Happy friends make you happy. That's no real shocker, right? But if a friend of a friend of a friend is happy, your chances of being happy are increased by 6%. And I know, that doesn't sound very high. But consider that other studies have suggested that if I give you a $10,000 raise, it would only increase your happiness by about 2%. So that makes it kind of cool, right? But what does this all mean? Well, that brings to mind another popular saying. Your network is your net worth. Another catchy one, it basically says that your wealth depends on who you surround yourself with. And this is why relationships are so crucial in our lives. The size and openness of your network is the number one predictor of career success. But networking can be a daunting task for some. There's often an innate resistance because it's easy to see networking as insincere or manipulative. Most people enter into the idea of networking with the idea of getting something out of it, but it doesn't have to necessarily always be that way. Building a strong network takes work, but it is worth so much because it can take you anywhere. It takes patience, getting out of your comfort zone, improving your self-confidence, and so on. But it is easier with time and consistency. The more you network, the more opportunities you are likely to come across, leading to more growth in many areas of your life. The key is to network with folks who are striving for similar goals, or those who have already achieved what it is you're looking to achieve. Knowledge is power, and you can gain knowledge the smart way through consistent networking. And that's exactly how I got into multifamily investing myself. And I've leaned on my network throughout my journey. You can learn about industry trends without actually having to do your own research or waste time. You can find new potential partners by exchanging contacts on a Zoom meeting, as opposed to investing in online ads and marketing research. It can make a huge difference in how you scale your business. And if you hang out with happy people, you begin to see things from a more pleasant perspective. If you hang out with losers, you may become defeatist in your thoughts. And if you hang out with wealthy people, it just makes more sense that you begin to think more strategically about wealth. Taking stock of those who you spend your time with, along with your entire network and its influence in your life, will inform you of where you sit in the larger network of your own social community. And that's some pretty valuable knowledge to have, isn't it? Now, as usual, I have a few links in the show notes if you'd like to read some things for yourself. For more information on growing and strengthening your network, check out the book Friend of a Friend: Understanding the Hidden Networks That Transform Your Life and Your Career by David Burkus. You can also check out Act Like a Leader, Think Like a Leader by Hereminia Ibarra to learn how to diversify your network in order to connect to and learn from a larger range of stakeholders. And of course, you can read Your Network is Your Net Worth by Porter Gale. And that's what I've got for you today. If you enjoyed what you heard, make sure you hit subscribe and leave us a review. I'd love to hear what you thought of the show today. And, hey, if you're interested in passive income opportunities with tax advantage real estate, like the RV resorts I mentioned at the beginning of the show, make sure you visit my website at www.oncallinvestments.com or reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Until next time, be safe and take care of each other out there. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Plan B CRNA podcast. If you haven't already subscribed and reviewed the show, I'd be honored if you took the extra time. It really helps to expand our reach and get the word out about the show. If you're a CRNA who is interested in sharing your story on our podcast, I'd love to have you. Please email me at bobby@oncallinvestments.com for more information. This episode was brought to you by On Call Capital. They are dedicated to helping providers like you develop passive income and generational wealth through investments in the apartment and alternative investment spaces. Feel free to check out their website at www.oncallinvestments.com and subscribe to their free educational email series. You can find On Call Capital on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also check out our YouTube page, where you'll find all of the show episodes along with other educational videos. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.